Outside the Box Reviews, the King of the Monsters is back. We are looking at the Bandai Tamashii Nations SH Monsterarts Godzilla figure. I already reviewed the King Ghidorah and I was blown away by that figure. This one, as you may have seen at the end of that video, is a little on the smaller side. He actually is not as big of a monstrosity as his counterpart. He also has a much lower price tag than the King Ghidorah did. But all of that is simply just to keep things in scale within the line. So let's take a look at this crazy creation from Bandai. Now, the first real bummer with this character is apparently I did not get the right version of him. Now, if you go looking online, there are no multiple versions of this specific version. It's only this guy. There's some other Godzillas. There's a translucent orange one from San Diego Comic-Con. And there's also a burning meltdown Godzilla that they've done from Godzilla vs. Destroya. But the only normal colored Godzilla on the market right now from this line is this guy, the Heisei era, 90s era Godzilla. However, if you were lucky enough to purchase this guy in the early stages of the release, one of the initial releases, he actually came with a breath effect. And I really wish I could have gotten my hands on it. Apparently, Bandai also released a kit that came with some little tanks and stuff and an extra breath effect for the character. But now looking on eBay, the prices have soared astronomically. Hopefully it's something they do again in some other version so I can get an official breath effect for my Godzilla figure. In all honesty, I've been using the stupid little Iron Man swoosh that came with one of the Marvel Universe figures as his breath effect. It works okay, it gives me an effect, but it's definitely not the real thing. The real thing actually had a base that looked like the energy was going along the ground, kicking up dust, and then one of those clear stands like King Ghidorah had, and then an actual more Godzilla-shaped breath effect. Another option is the Fire Rodin figure that's out there. Comes with a red blast, not the classic blue, but the red blast seen towards the end of Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. And I may eventually pick up that figure and try to mix and match the whole thing together. Now, like King Ghidorah, Godzilla has an impressive range of articulation. And once again, we'll start from the bottom up on him. We have a ball-jointed ankle down here, which basically amounts to giving you an ankle pivot on his big Godzilla feet. You can kind of swivel at it as well. But you also have a bigger ball joint up here that swivels better and rocks a little better. You have a double-jointed knee without a great range of articulation, just really limited. But it's a guy in a suit. He was limited in how much he could move. The ball-jointed hips, you can go in and out, forward and back a little bit, heavily hindered by the sculpt. Even back here, we kind of have this plate, I guess. It's supposed to help keep the continuity of the sculpt, but it really actually helps hinder that articulation, which is kind of a bummer. Also, like King Ghidorah, he has a beautiful multi-segmented tail. It starts out back here, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 different segments in Godzilla's tail. All ball joints, all fully movable, rotatable, all that good stuff. Obviously, rotation you're not going to care about as much because you want these spines lined up. But you can get a great range of motion out of this tail. My biggest gripe about it is that the end here is all one section, this main little part here, and they did sculpt a curve in it, so it does give it a very distinct look, and you kind of have to play into what that looks good with. But I can understand not wanting to make all these little ball joints. It would be very expensive and very tiny and probably fragile. We have mid-torso articulation here. You can get a small rotation out of it. Mostly you get a good rock side to side, not a very good forward and back on it. His arms, he's got the ball jointed shoulder, so you can rotate him around. Once again, not a great range, and they're very stiff, but you can do a little bit of in and out as well. You can rotate at the upper arm here. I believe all of these really are ball joints, so this probably has some extra movement, but it's very tight, so just count it as a swivel joint. Have a double jointed elbow, which is really nice, moves really well. You can also swivel at that elbow, both sides of it. And then a ball jointed hand, which doesn't seem to be on there quite so well. It gives you a great range of motion, but I am also afraid these are going to just pop right off. The neck has kind of a weird little joint here. It's got this base of the neck joint that can go forward and back. And we can also see in here there's like another layer to that. I don't know if this is just a free-floating piece or if it actually is another layer of articulation. I really can't tell. You also get a little bit of rotation out of it. It's very hindered by the sculpt. Up here you have a full ball joint for the head, which does have a tendency to pop off, but you get complete rotation up and down, all that good stuff. And added with the main neck joint, you can really get a full range out of his head. And then, as with the King Ghidorah, he has a ball-jointed mouth, so it opens, you can swivel it for some weird reason. I guess if you wanted a broken jaw. I don't know, because of the weird rotating jaws in these figures, part of me really wants them to go back and do the 60s and 70s era stuff, so we can get a Mechagodzilla in disguise and an Anguirus figure and recreate the jaw-breaking scene from that movie. The detail on Godzilla is just amazing. He has very well done toenails, are beautiful, kind of off-white. You can see the paint kind of coming down into them to make almost a cuticles in there. He's a uniform grayish black, which is very iconic to the character and very correct. Even though he's often portrayed as being green, Godzilla wasn't green until about the year 1999. But a lot of great scale detail, just like Ghidorah had. All the weird little folds, kind of elephant-looking things that Godzilla has into his body. A very muscular-looking chest, which kind of fits into the Heisei style. On the back, he has his 3 main rows of spikes and the smaller rows on the side. They look great. They're all very nicely done, very well painted in that semi-blue look. They get smaller up towards the head, and as you go down the tail, they also decrease in size. Just looking phenomenal. One gripe I do have with the sculpt on here are the hands. Now this hand here I really like. The 4-fingered claw, we have a very prominent thumb and then 3 fingers. This hand, that thumb really just looks like it's part of the other fingers there. They all kind of look even. So I wish they would have given him a more prominent thumb on this hand, or at least made it look different. As you can see on this side, it's actually a little thinner, and this side it comes out thicker, which is a bit of a bummer. My one gripe with the way the hands look, but not a huge thing. The paint that's on the toenails also continues onto the fingernails as well. When we get up to the neck, he kind of has a different scale pattern on the underside of his neck, which is awesome. I love his big, expressive eyes with the orange hues in them. They're very well detailed and very cool looking. He's got his little ears, his little nose sculpted on there. Just a lot of great detail. And this figure does suffer just on the fact that it is a very dark figure. And I've taken some photos of him, and it's really hard to get him in good enough lighting to show off all these little details on him. But they are all there and just wonderful. And then if you open the mouth, he already has those exposed teeth. I do like that he has the overbite, which is true to the movies. And then just great detailing in here. The inside of the mouth is really well done. The teeth all kind of have a yellowy hue to them. He does have the dual rows of teeth, which is very specific to this era of Godzilla. I think from Biollante on, he had dual rows of teeth, which is really cool. And a very prominent, very cool looking tongue. And even great detail on the roof of his mouth, which is very impressive. They have gone all out with this line, and there is nothing that they haven't thought of when it comes to the detailing of the character. Just to further exemplify the cool factor on this figure, he actually is able to go into what they refer to as swimming mode, which is how Godzilla looks when he's swimming. So the head goes all the way back so you'll be able to see in front of him. The arms kind of go down, and the tail comes truly out in line with his spine, so it looks like he's just swimming along. Now, the commercials that were released for this figure actually showed him in stop motion form like this, and they added in like a submarine and all that stuff. It's kind of a cool concept. And once again, proving these things are perfect for stop motion videos just because of how detailed and how articulated they are. But with all that articulation, he still looks good. There's not too many big gaps in the construction of him, which is very nice. Now, one thing, because he can go into the swimming mode, because they're making a big deal about it, I do wish we would have gotten a cradle for him where he could have actually rested in swimming mode, actually been held up off the ground. I wish Ghidorah came with one as well, but he is so large that it would be hard to get him into like a flight stand or something. But this Godzilla is small enough and light enough, I feel like it could have been done, but we definitely did not get that here. Oh well, I can dream, can't I? For a size comparison, here he is next to the vinyl version of Burning Godzilla. It's the only Heisei era Godzilla I have in the vinyl form. And while I love these vinyl figures, and I'll probably still pick them up if they come out more in the States, these SH Monsterarts figures just blow them out of the water. However, it's a good sign that Godzilla is very much in scale with this counterpart. It's a little goofier looking, and first of all, this has been a figure that's always been a little goofy looking to me. But they fit in well together, and that means if you have any kind of setup or diorama going on, that they're not going to look really strange, these new guys. I know one problem a lot of people have had with the Revoltech figures is that they're not quite in the scale with this popular sizing of Godzilla that Bandai's done. So the SH Monsterarts, obviously it is from Bandai, so they know what scale they put things at before, and it's really cool that at least the Godzillas fit in together. However, I must say, looking at the pictures of the SH Monsterarts Burning Godzilla, that thing is a thing of beauty, and I really, really want it. There's some other monsters I'd rather have first, like the Rodin I mentioned, but I think he's on my list too, so this guy may be getting replaced one of these days. Another thing to mention, going back to articulation, that I love about this figure is that with the vinyl versions, if the tail is stuck outright or stuck in a certain pose, you're stuck with it. You can't do anything about it. And it really makes placing these guys on a shelf a little obnoxious. With this guy, I could just take the tail and bend it more around if I need it. Or I could position it upwards like this if I'd like it to be. Just a lot of different posability options gives me more of a chance to make him sit in the pose that I want him to be in. Overall, this Godzilla figure is just plain awesome. I love this guy. And I knew looking at these figures that if I was going to pick up at least one, Godzilla had to be that one. I'm so glad I was able to pick up at least two, and I'm able to have those two in my collection. They're a great set together. But Godzilla on his own for a Godzilla fan is definitely a recommend. The Heisei version of these characters has been one that's been my favorite for a long time, and even though my introductions to the characters were back in the 60s versions of them, first movie I ever saw was Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, so I don't know if I'd really plop down money for a version of the character from that movie in this kind of scale. I don't know if $60 would be worth a Sea Monster Godzilla. But I have a lot of great memories, and I really enjoy watching the Heisei series, so this is a perfect Godzilla for me. And he's absolutely wonderful, and I recommend him to any fan without hesitation, because he's just great. And I'm definitely going to try to hunt down some more of these figures for my collection. I'm going to keep an eye on prices and see which way things move, if I can get some deals, like I tend to try to do. And if I can, I will be back with more SH Monsterarts reviews. And even if I'm not back with those anytime soon, I've got plenty of the Bandai vinyl ones to review. Make sure you check out Outside the Box Reviews on Facebook. There you can see a bunch of pictures. I've been playing around with this Godzilla a lot and throwing a bunch of pictures up there and other stuff that I'm purchasing and planning to review. And until next time, it's been another Outside the Box Review. Stay tuned for more to come.